All right, so this is the last part of the review that we had today. So the first thing we're going to start with is we're going to start off with trig. And with our trig functions, we have sine, cosine, and tangent. Now remember the little acronym over here, SOHCAHTOA. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, tangent is opposite over hypotenuse. So the sine of A means what is the ratio of the side opposite angle A over the hypotenuse. Well, if we're looking at angle A, this one here, the side opposite A is 15. So I'll indicate that as opposite. So the side opposite A is 15, and the hypotenuse is 17. So sine of A is 15 over 17. Again, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Now let's look at cosine. Cosine is adjacent side over hypotenuse. So the cosine of A is the side adjacent to A. And which side is adjacent to A? 8 over the hypotenuse, which is 17. So that's the cosine of A. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. So the opposite side from A is 15. The adjacent side to A is 8. So that's how we do that angle. Now we're going to look at everything from the perspective of angle B. So I'm looking at angle B now. This is my angle. So now this becomes opposite, this becomes adjacent, and this is still hypotenuse. So now let's do the same thing. Sine of B. What is the ratio of the side opposite to the hypotenuse? So the opposite of B is 8, and the hypotenuse is 17. Notice how the sine of B is the same as cosine of A. Now let's look at cosine B. Cosine B is the side adjacent to B over the hypotenuse, so 8 is adjacent, 15 is adjacent to B, and 17 is the hypotenuse. So that's the cosine of B. Now with tangent, we have opposite over adjacent. So we're looking at the side opposite of B, which is 8, over the adjacent of B, which is 15. And so that is how you do the trig ratios. Now when you come down into the second section here, I made a mistake. This right here, I drew all wrong. Ignore it. I didn't even set up the equation properly. This is what happens when you're tired and you're up late at night. So ignore that. So what we're going to do here is we're going to use trig to solve this question. It says we have a person pushing a lawnmower, and the handle of the lawnmower transmits a force of 20 pounds from the person's body. So this 20-pound force right here is actually the hypotenuse of our triangle. The lawnmower frame is at an angle of 32 degrees, so 32 is our angle. So we're going to create a right triangle here where the force this way is the hypotenuse, the 20, and then we have a force down and a force across. So for the force down, that is your y force, because you remember you've got y, you've got your y-axis is up and down. If I were to draw, this is y, this is x, y is up and down, y is horizontal, vertical. So I want to know, what is this? Well, if I'm looking at my angle here, what is y? Y opposite or adjacent? Good job, it's opposite. So if this is opposite and this is hypotenuse, I can use which function? Sine. Because the sine of an angle is opposite over hypotenuse. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in what I have. What is the angle A that we're looking at? 32. So the sine of 32 is equal to y, because I don't know what that is, over the hypotenuse, which is 20. Okay? So now the question is, what do I do? Well, I'm going to cross multiply. So I'm going to assume this is over 1. I'm going to cross multiply, so y times 1 is y. And then I have 20 times the sine of 32. Now you need to make sure that your calculator is in degree mode. So y is going to equal whatever 20 times sine of 32 is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 20. Well, first of all, I'm going to look at my calculator. You see up here it's in radian mode. I'm going to hit mode, and I'm going to put it into degree mode. Okay? Now I'm going to do 20 times the sine of 32 degrees, and I get 10.598, which is 10.6. So this side is 10.6. The force that's being applied on this side is 10.6 pounds. That's being applied down, so 10.6 pounds. So now let's find the force being applied horizontally. Horizontally is your x. Remember, x left and right. This is the side that's adjacent to the angle. So what function is adjacent in hypotenuse? That's cosine. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So if I want to find out how many pounds are being applied this way, I'm going to move this over a little bit. The cosine of 32 degrees is equal to x over 20. Same thing we did here. Now I'm going to cross multiply. X times 1 is x, and then you have 20 times the cosine of 32. So what I'm going to do, I already know that my calculator is in degree mode. So I'm going to do 20 times the cosine of 32 degrees, and I get 16.96, which is about 17.0. So what this is telling us is that applying a force of 20 pounds at a diagonal at a 32 degree angle means you're applying 10.6 pounds of pressure down and 17.0 pounds of pressure across. Now, this last question down here is kind of a thinker, because we like to think here in geometry. If a person doing the lawn mowing wishes to apply their force more efficiently to the mower, more of their force is actually going into the forward component and less pushing downward, should they hold the lawnmower handle at a shallower angle or a steeper angle? Well, if I want to increase this one, I want to decrease this one. So that means I would actually be holding it at a shallower angle. Instead of holding the lawnmower there, maybe we hold the lawnmower at this angle. That's how you increase that one, and that's trig.